War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you hanging out with us for your hard-earned and very special time. On this live stream, has been the case for every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time since the dawn of time for us, we are just going to be talking to you, the Auburn family, about whatever you want to talk about. Now, we have a prepared topic, a starting point maybe for us to launch from, and that being spring practice and the news breaking today that Dematrius Davis, backup quarterback that a lot of people were excited about, decided to enter the transfer portal. A little bit of big news today, and I'm sure that is what is going to be the focus of our talk. It's probably going to be a good thing somewhat to keep our minds off the misery that is Auburn going out in round 32, or the round of 32 in March Madness. But anything's on the table tonight to talk about within the Auburn family spectrum, so we will do that tonight. A lot of you will obviously know the drill that we like to go through with right now. If you can, in the chat, whether you're watching live or in the replay, Facebook, Twitter, or here on YouTube mainly, post in the chat right now where you're watching from, city, state, international. It is our check-in period, and make sure you smash that like button, retweet button, whatever system that you're on right now. It does help the stream out, and that is what you can do. We'll say hello to you guys as you pop into the chat window. Also tonight is a live call-in show, and so what that means is that everyone has the availability to call into the stream tonight. So if you would like to take part in that, please do so. Up at the top of the chat right now, you'll see the link for the call in. If we get a lot of people calling in tonight, sometimes it happens every once in a while. We'll have to kind of weed people in and out of the calls. So just kind of stay with that. We've got some of our contributors that may also stop in tonight. Had a lot of people express interest potentially calling in tonight. We'll see if they are able to get away from their busy schedules to do that. So it could be kind of interesting tonight. But anybody can call. Hit the link at the top of the chat window, and I'll share it throughout the stream tonight as well. Don't be shy. I don't bite too hard. Maybe. Anyway, thank you for joining us here, and we'll go ahead and say hello to a couple people that are already popping in. Devin from Texas, good to see you, Devin. D. Altoro Banks from Jacksonville, Florida. Chase says he finally made a live stream. Woo! He's from Mississippi, so we got Florida, Mississippi, and Texas already checking in. Pensacola for Florida as well. As well. Checking in. Dusty is a familiar face here on these live streams, so I'm sure we'll talk to him a bunch tonight. So really, we can kind of start wherever you all would like. I will kind of open the floor with the Dematrius Davis situation, and I'm sure we're going to kind of bounce back and forth with a lot of that tonight. And let me just start off by saying this. I'm going to press everybody a little bit on the Dematrius Davis topic tonight, because I'm starting to see a lot of the old responses, oh, I wish this, or I wish that, or, he's going to be a Malik Willis. I want us to maybe talk through some of those things if they come up, because they're interesting responses to these type of situations that I may or may not agree with, that are just kind of, I find this whole Dematrius Davis thing interesting. And let me just go ahead and say right here, I am so sad that we are not going to have him as part of this team. He's been through a regime change, been through every bit of the coaching chaos that happened with Auburn this season. The fact that we don't get to see his story come to fruition at Auburn as of this moment, I mean, he's in the transfer portal, like he can always pull himself back out, is very sad to me. I hate it when we lose members of the Auburn family going somewhere else, but that's kind of what happens these days, and I don't have to like it. It's not necessarily something I enjoy, but it is part of the reality that is college athletics now, that there are a lot of other opportunities that people can seek out there. So just kind of some opening thoughts about that. It's a little bit more convoluted than we're terrible, we lost this guy. It's not as good, he's gone. I don't like those responses either. Those are so basic level responses on this that I don't think that either one of them are right. This is a much more convoluted situation that I think people are willing to talk about at great length or detail. And yes, Neil brought up that Roe Terrence just announced this afternoon, evening, depending on when you saw it, a cornerback decided to go into the transfer portal as well. I will say I wasn't shocked, not because it was Roe Terrence, but because you usually see this happen, especially these days. It takes one guy to make that move, whether they're unhappy with the situation. And I'm not saying Roe and D were some like a package deal or something like that, but it kind of makes everybody else feel like they can make that step or that leap if they're not happy with their situation, and kind of opens that door up for them. It feels somebody leaves, they left the door cracked open, and they feel like they can easily kind of slip out too. Good luck to him as well. Sad to hear about it. Hate to see that they're not going to be finishing out their careers here at Auburn. Chase says good luck to him. Thomas checking in from Leeds. Good to see you. From Hoover. Corey checking in as well. Devin says, seeing as I know little about positioning and the ins and outs of being a quarterback, I will defer to the coaches. Devin, whether you know the game or not, in fact, you're in a much better position than most people are, because everybody assumes they know what's going on. I played football, so I know what's going on. No, you don't. I don't know what's going on. We can only operate off of the small amount of information that we're working from as fans and members of the media too. They obviously have a little bit more information than we do, but they still don't have all of it. And, you're taking this person's word for that person's word, all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things where anytime you feel like you've got the story right, you need to always assume that you don't have the whole story completely right. So deferring to the coaches, kind of what you said, is always a good decision there. And this seems like this was a Dematrius Davis decision. He may have been told, look, you're not going to be the guy at quarterback here. You can stay or you can go. And so left it up to him. Or they could have told him, look, you need to go somewhere else. Sometimes coaches will just say flat out, if it's for your best interest for you to go somewhere else. I don't know. I wasn't with the coaches when this decision went down. So we'll just have to, like you said, defer to them. Whit checking in on Facebook says, where will Davis go? One of the questions that I posed online on some social media posts today to everybody when this news first started breaking. I'll give you two locations that everybody was quick to jump to, and we all saw it coming: UCF and Liberty. UCF, Gus Malzahn, he recruited him here. Makes sense, right? Would it shock me in the least if that happens? No. I know, as a Gus Malzahn huge fan and supporter, you would think that I'd be up to date on what's going on in UCF. I'm not. I'm an Auburn fan first and foremost. So I don't know what their quarterback situation is like down there. I do know that they had one transfer out. So if there's a spot available and Coach Malzahn feels like that can fill that role, more power to him. And it'd be pretty funny they got together and did some big things. But I digress. And then obviously Malik Willis is the tie to, everybody thinks that we made some huge mistake by keeping Bo Nix over Malik Willis. Those are very, try to be kind here, not very well thought out statements online, because you're comparing a quarterback who went off in a much lesser league to a quarterback that is competing at the highest level in the hardest division of the hardest league. Frankly, I'd probably have an easier time too. Anyway, but we can talk. I'm sure a lot of that is going to be coming up tonight, so we can discuss that more in greater detail there. So you'll probably see those names floated out there because they make a lot of logical sense, being the type of quarterback that Dematrius Davis seems to be, a little bit more mobile, might fit Hugh Freeze's system up there in Liberty, or obviously go to Coach Malzahn. I'm kind of hoping it goes somewhere else just so that it kind of shocks everybody. But I will be rooting for Dematrius Davis because the kid stuck it out here as long as he could, much longer than I think a lot of us thought he would. And so we'll just kind of have to be supporters of him as long as it's not in the disservice of Auburn. Let's see. Devin, the coaches do know more than us. I can assure you a fade route on 4th and goal from 2 is a bad coaching decision, however. I don't know that Auburn fans are going to ever let that go. I question that as well. If you had shown the propensity to be able to execute that type of scheme, on a regular basis, then maybe, but we had not been able to do that. At quarterback, at wide receiver, all positions, that was just not going to be something that was successful to us. And, apparently that might have been more of the Bobo type of mentality. It's no longer here. So we'll see if it continues on there. Another Thomas S. Does he go back to Texas? You see a lot of the times in these situations, right, where players will move back to something that makes sense. It's why UCF makes sense, because his coach that recruited him, they came to play for, is there. But he is one of the most decorated high school quarterbacks in Texas history. It would make sense. So does a Power 5 small, maybe I want to say less than, but a team that's not everybody's expecting, maybe a Texas Tech or somebody come get him? Maybe. My hunch is that this late in the game, he'll have to work really hard to get a starting job, but I don't know the Texas Texas's school situation to speak to fluently about that. Let's see here. I would say that Harsin getting 2 quarterbacks from the portal, he wasn't sure about Dematrius Davis. Don't shoot. Don't, just my opinion. Don't shoot me. No shooting here. Yeah, I would say that accepting multiple quarterbacks from the transfer portal does speak a lot to that, but obviously I don't think it says the whole story. But you can read between the lines a little bit there. And I've often asked, and I say this with all the love for Dematrius Davis, but if he was going to break through, he would have broken through already. And I don't mean that he's not good, and I didn't want him to be a quarterback. I just trust what the coaches are putting out there. I trust that they're making the correct decisions for what they have available to work off of. Just kind of my 2 cents about that. Let's see here. Excited to see what the quarterback race holds when Calzada is healthy. And see, that's the whole other element to this, right? We don't even have the full picture of this quarterback race. Calzada is taking, minimal. I don't even know what the reps are that you would call that he's taking right now, or he's maybe going through the motions with his feet because it's a shoulder, I think is what it was. He's working on healing up. He's the whole other element to this quarterback race. How does he factor into everything? Is he the guy to beat out? I've asked a lot of you to assume that right now TJ's in the lead because he has the most experience. Will that continue through spring practice? Depends. But right now, the question is, who is it going to be? Zach Calzada, TJ Finley, Holden Geriner, or Robbie Ashford? I think Ashford's kind of come on a little bit more than I gave him credit for in terms of his likelihood to take the starting job. I still don't think he will. Personally, no really solid information to share why I think that, just a feeling. But I'm certainly entertaining the thought more now, the way things are shaping out. But there you go. Neil says that Malik Willis will never play a down in the NFL. Well, see, I'm not even going to go that far, Neil. I'm not going to assume that anybody isn't going to do X or Y with their careers or their time. Do I think that he's set up in the best possible scenario to be a starter? No, but I've seen if Kurt Warner can go from being a grocery store clerk and an arena football leaguer to an MVP in the NFL, Malik Willis can be a guy who comes out of Liberty, transferred from Auburn, went to Liberty, broke some records, and is now an NFL star. Much, much greater unlikelihoods have happened. But right now, I would say that he has a longer uphill to climb than most. Well, than a lot of other quarterbacks that'll probably be going into the draft this year. Rob says that you're a year too late. You kind of got to honor, in my opinion, a guy willing to stick it out. He made a commitment to a team, obviously, because if he made a commitment to a coach, he would have left, especially after year one. Or at least sooner after year one, to go with the coach that recruited him. No, he stuck it out. I'm a little surprised that he decided to go in the middle of spring practice, but what that tells me is that for whatever reason, the other options at quarterback have separated themselves, and he and or the coaches have decided the best thing for his career, his future, is to move on to something else. Whether that's a mutual thing, a single notion on one of their parties' parts, I don't know. But that's what that tells me, is that others have separated themselves for whatever reason. Doesn't mean he's not a good quarterback. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to hate him not being, hate having him as part of the Auburn family. Dusty, these days, no one can be sure, or Corey's saying this to Dusty, about how someone would react to one's opinion. It really is. It's a sad state that our society is in, that you have to. I do think that everyone could do with being a little bit more measured in their commentary, especially in social media, when they think that there's no consequences for it. It's why I love doing this format here, because I'm right here. It's no hiding from it. But it is a sad state of affairs when you can't be honest, and when you make a mistake, be able to apologize for it and it be done. I'll get off my soapbox. Linda says that Liberty is a likely option for him. With Malik gone, maybe so. Maybe so. Chase, I will say this. I am just not excited about this coming year. I don't know why. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Nothing to back it up. Just a gut feeling. Not what I want either. Well, I would hope that you wouldn't want us to not have a great year. There is reason for a lot of trepidation about what this year could look like, but there's also reason for a lot of optimism about what this year could bring. First 5 games are at home. After you're coming off of the offseason that Coach Harsin is, you couldn't ask for a better setup. Yeah, you got to play some tough teams within that, but it's at home. And Jordan Hare, when it rocks, you can see what it does to certain teams, especially the number 1 team in the land. So I would say that, yes, it's fine to be a little bit concerned, but let's wait and see before we start really getting concerned about what the season may or may not be. But I understand. I do. DD to J. Well, you said JSU, Corey, and I was thinking Jacksonville State, but you meant Jackson State. Dion has his arms wide open. Now, actually, if that happens, again, I don't know Jackson State's situation. I would love that. There's a certain element of Deion Sanders that kind of annoys me for no other reason than our personalities probably just clash. But I kind of respect the dude for being innovative, right? You scored the number 1 recruit from Division 1. Yeah, you did it with a new system of NIL and stuff like that helped you, but you still did it. There's something to that. So as it's kind of the same thing that I don't know any. The amount that I know about Deion Sanders outside of how great an athlete he was is very minimal. But I could say that just kind of watching his personality versus mine, it wouldn't clash well, but I would respect him as a coach. It'd be similar to like a Tom Brady situation. Don't like Tom Brady, but I respect that he's the GOAT. It made me sick just saying that. But yeah, I would say that if that happens, it might be a match made in heaven. The way that he's accruing some talent down there, D. Davis could go off under the tutelage of a Deion Sanders. He certainly would have the marketing arm in his favor with Deion Sanders, the way he's being that down there. Devin, one thing that I respect about Coach Harsin is if you prove yourself in practice, you get a chance to play in the game. Not saying other coaches don't do that, but I like that about him. It does seem to come more. You've seen him speak more openly about that. I also think he's been questioned more. He's been questioned a lot. More about that certain topic. Why isn't somebody playing? And he's actually offered, as opposed to coach speak, well, they're the best player will play, or if there's other players that are performing better in practice. So he's probably being a little bit more open about it, as much as a coach can be, trying not to do too much coach speak. So yeah, that does seem to be part of a more forward part of his personality, of his way of doing things. Minion Mafia, has there been any word on which quarterback has looked the best so far? It depends on who you talk to, who you follow, who you ask. Obviously, I kind of look in on everybody saying things, and there's no really definitive set apart. I'm operating off the assumption that TJ Finley, until he proves otherwise, is going to be the front runner. kind of along with Calzada. I can't really definitively say that till he gets healthy and in the mix officially, but it's TJ's job to lose as of this moment, in my opinion. And that might be easier said than done, or done than said, whichever way you want to interpret that. I think the fact that Robbie Ashford is now he just got here, so why would he leave immediately? You can ring that point, and he's closer to home. But I would say that I'm starting to warm up the idea that Robbie Ashford is in this a little bit more than I gave him credit for. Just goes to show you, your opinions are about as good as they are at that time. And after that point, things can change. Rob says, according to Calzada, the reports are that Calzada is the lead. Yeah. So let me step back a second and rephrase that. Based off of not just experience, well, really experience too, but just who's accomplished more in their career so far, I would say that automatically launches Calzada at least into a tie with TJ Finley. Problem is he's hurt right now. So if he was competing at, a fully healthy level, then yeah, he's in the lead probably if he goes out there and handles his business. But I'd say TJ right now is very much in the lead. Just my own opinion. Let's see. I think Calzone will be good at quarterback. By the way, I'll just say it right here. If any of you pizza companies in Auburn want a sponsorship here, I got some good marketing ideas for you with Calzada. I mean, it's obvious what you would need to make there, but it's pretty funny. Yes, Calzada is not practicing right now, but he's practicing in what he can, whether that be mental reps, whether that be going through steps. It's really just an arm situation right now. Let me scroll down here. I think they should have him a chance. I guess, let me see if I can interpret this, Mr. ODR. I think what you meant to say with it, I think they should have given him a chance, and I'm guessing you're referring to Dematrius Davis. So my question for you then is, sir, what makes you think they didn't give him a chance, and what would it take for you to say they gave him a chance? Because you've got to earn it on the practice field. We've already talked about that. If that's what you're talking about, it's missing some words there, so it's hard to know. So that's one of the narratives that's out there. I wish they'd give him a chance. And I'm not saying that I know 100% that he was or wasn't given a chance. But I do know the precedent has been set by this coach, as someone brought up earlier, that if you practice, if you win the job in practice, you're going to play. And then you have to keep earning that out in the field and then practice it again. That continues to follow through in other positions. Why would it not follow here? Just because we think someone looks good on tape doesn't mean it's going to translate onto the field. So that's why when I see, I wish they had given him a chance. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I think he was given chances, in my opinion, but I don't know that for 100% fact. Do you think day one of spring practice, Dematrius Davis thought he was out of his league, then he jumps ship? Day one of spring practice? No, I don't think so. I think if that was the case, he would have left day one. I think they got to a point in spring practice where he was, he realized what was happening. All right, we got a familiar face who has decided to call in, so we're going to say hello to him right now, and I'm pretty sure he's got some opinions to share about this Dematrius Davis. So there he is, Mr. Dustin. How is it going, sir?
How are you talking? Getting good.
Say that one more time. You broke up just a little bit. You're like coming in and out, unfortunately. You got to love audio equipment sometimes. It never works at the right time. Yeah, you go ahead. Here, you work on it for a second. I'll bring you back in just a minute. Give that another try. So yeah, Dusty's got some opinions about this that he wants to share, and we've actually kind of talked about it a little bit. So, and I think honestly, I may be speaking too soon here. I think Dusty and I we see each other's perspectives on this, and I think he's very much. I shouldn't speak before he gets on here because I'm putting words in his mouth without letting him share his thoughts on it. But he's become privy to some information about this situation that I think he wants to share. So we'll let him do that as soon as he gets it figured out. I'm watching him in my green room right now, scramble with with wires, and I'm making him laugh right now too. See, let me give y'all a little insight to being a content creator. Dusty right now is living my life of things falling apart at the worst possible times. You know how many times like I've started this show like late and y'all think it's just I'm like forgot what time it was? No, I'm scrambling in the background trying to get things ready. So let me pull him back up, see if we can hear him. Dusty, any luck? I can't hear you at all. Can't hear you at all. Nope. All right, you keep working on it. I'll bring you back in just a little bit. We'll keep answering some questions. What happens if Auburn goes winless in football? Okay, I think he said he's ready. We'll bring him back in just a second. What happens if Auburn goes winless in football in 2022? A, that's not going to happen. You take that to the bank. I'm willing to bet that. I got a better question. What happens if Auburn goes without 6 wins? Could be an interesting offseason. All right, Dusty. Tell me you got it this time.
We're good. We're good?
There he is. There he is.
Okay. I tried to be fancy and hook up the mic and, didn't work out.
Listen, man, I've been doing this for 8 years plus, and the things that still to this day happen to me and frustrate me with audio visual equipment is just confounding. So it is no big deal.
Yeah, I'm learning.
It never ends.
I'm learning for sure.
Look, you're like giving me the sweats right now, just thinking of like the things that have happened to me before, like with just equipment stuff. Anyway, he is here. Let's let him talk, and we'll get back to comments and questions of you guys here in just a little bit. So, what's on your mind, Dusty?
I'll just, as you saw how this whole ordeal started off. I'm sorry for making everybody wait. Sunday, when I was leaving my little brother's house after that basketball game, leaving the stop sign, I pressed my clutch in, and I just hear a popping noise, and a part falls onto the ground. That's literally 5 minutes after the basketball game.
Oh no!
So what y'all just saw has been my week. Everyone knows how I feel about Dematrius Davis. It's just been a week.
Let me say this: if the devil was working against you, he's batting 1,000 right now. Is what you're trying to tell me? He took out your basketball team, your car, your boy on the team. I mean, come on.
I actually tweeted out, the devil keeps sending blitzes, but I got angels on my O-line.
So there you go. Hey, can we get some of them angels on our O-line?
I'm praying, I promise.
Listen, I know Dematrius Davis had I would argue this. Let me set the table for us. As much as it's no secret that I am very much a defender of Bo Nix on this show, on our podcast, everything. And I've not said that he's perfect, but I've said that I'm going to go to bat for the guy as much as I can. And I think I had good sound reasons behind that. I think you're probably in the same camp with Dematrius Davis. And not that I don't think that there's a large contingency of Auburn fans out there that don't like him. Or I would say there's actually the opposite. I would say there's a huge contingency of fans who are asking the question, why didn't he get a shot? I just kind of setting the table where I understand where you're coming from and wanting to kind of seek answers for why a guy that you saw a lot of promise in didn't get at least time on the field that you thought he deserved. So I hope I kind of set it up there well for you. And if you want to share your thoughts on this whole thing.
Yeah. And there's a bigger picture concern to it as well. But to the Dematrius Davis specifically, like I stated before, I don't see what this offensive line, how much better they're going to be. Are they going to improve some? I hope so, but I pretty much feel like that is what it is. I've given up on the transfer portal thing. I mean, there was a guy, and listen, guys, I'm not trying to be negative. I mean, y'all saw how positive I was the whole basketball season. Like, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm just calling it the way that it is. We got that guy from Arkansas State. He's a freshman All-American from Arkansas State. You look at his numbers, they're good. We could definitely use him. He comes in, and everyone makes a big deal because we had a big recruiting weekend. Guys, you're supposed to do that. Every team's supposed to do that. The only reason it was news is because we botched it last year. We tried to do one last year and we messed it up. And that's not even big news that we had a bunch of recruits there that's what you're supposed to do. We didn't get any commitments. So, okay, that guy came there. He's obviously going to get a starting spot. He's going to South Carolina and still visiting Utah State. It's just like, my goodness, what? Like, we've got to start. Guys are leaving and no one's coming in. And I'm not trying to be negative, guys. I'm not. We've got to start getting some people. Um, so as far as Demetrius Davis, you know, I get it, and I understand your point about Malik Willis.
Mm.
My point at that time was this, right? That was clearly going to be a good defense. Like there was no denying that was going to be a great defense.
You're talking about the 2019 team.
2019.
Yeah.
So I felt like we could have ran the Nick Marshall style offense with Malik Willis. We could have protected the clock. We could have protected the football, and that defense would have won the games. Instead of throwing an 18-year-old out there, his first road game was a swamp. Then he goes and has to play this great LSU team in Baton Rouge. I just felt like that was the choice that year. And yeah, I mean, Liberty is what it is, right? But like,
Right.
he's going to be a first round pick. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be. Let's also
Not
consider
now.
this. Let's also consider this. And I'm not trying to knock Gus, but when you look at the overall, Lamar Jackson wanted to come to Auburn. You can look at this video on YouTube. Gus picked Sean White. You guys tell me how that worked out. So sometimes,
Yep.
And listen, they know more than I do. They're there every day and they want to win. I'm not saying anything like that. I spoke to somebody very close to Demetrius Davis, and I come on here a lot, and you know that I don't normally say stuff like that.
Right. Yes, I can vouch for that.
I spoke to somebody very, very close to that, and I wouldn't come on here and say otherwise. He does not feel like he got even a fair shake. He feels like, now whether that's true or not, I'm not saying, but
right.
He feels like he never got the fair shot. He feels like the bowl game, when the offense just wasn't moving, put me in the red zone and made me make something happen with my feet because TJ was still hurt.
Yep.
And then now with Calzada still sitting there, you bring in a guy like Robbie Ashford. It's not a situation, I promise you, 100% I can promise you. It's not a situation like these guys that left, like Lee Hunter, that were disgruntled or whatever. It's not a culture thing. It's
right.
nothing like that. He feels like he's not going to get the shot, and that, remember, he was already committed before Harsin became the coach.
Yep.
Harsin wasn't really in a position to where he could not bring guys in. I mean, he had to take who he could take, and I gotta trust me on this. He loves the campus. He loves our fan base. He appreciates all the love. It's really not a situation like that. And one thing I would take into consideration too, look on Twitter. Guys like Roger McCreary, guys like Jacoby McLean, Wooden. There's a lot of guys on defense that are saying, pick this guy up.
Mm-hmm.
And when guys on defense that have to go up against this guy and practice every day, they see there's something there. Now, I'm hearing good things. We hear good things from the people that are at practice every day. We have to trust that TJ is doing good things as being a leader and all that kind of stuff. And I'm pulling for TJ Finley 100%. I really am. Is this offensive line going to get better? And hey, I'm pretty positive on this. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty positive. Cam Newton is the tallest quarterback ever at 6'5" to be an All-Pro. There gets to a point to where when you're 6'8", and Robert Griffin did a great job in one of the games pointing this out, to where TJ is throwing the ball down at his receivers just because he's so big. And it's not his fault. I mean, he's 6'8". Like, can he play power forward? Can he shoot? Can he shoot the 3 ball? I don't want the kid out of Auburn. It's just, and then again with Calzada, if you were the guy, you would have been the guy at A&M. You wouldn't have lost that job. So it's just my overall on D Davis. Like I said, I spoke to somebody very, very close to the situation, and I can tell you that it's not an Auburn thing. And one thing I took away from it personally, guys, is that let's be careful what we say on Twitter. Let's be careful what we put out there. Let's be careful what we say on these shows. I don't even think about it. I go to work and I call in just to talk about Auburn with you guys.
Right.
These people see this stuff. They
Yep.
really do. It's out there on the internet, and it forms a perception. Are there times that I want to come on here after a loss and just go off? Yep. There's times that Kyle does too. We have to remember, you know, that we're all part of this bigger family, and we have to. I'm not saying pump sunshine. I ain't been pumping
No.
sunshine tonight, you know. And when it comes the way it's going, when we come time to do preseason predictions, y'all gonna hate me.
Listen, I love what you said there because this is it's a bigger picture thing here, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I hope that comes through about how we carry ourselves as the Auburn
Yeah.
family online. Listen, I love cutting up on social media in person, preferred in person, frankly, and being honest and all that stuff. But there is what he's saying there is true. Whether you are a YouTube channel with 1 or 1,000 subscribers, whether you're a social media account with 1 or 1,000, so on and so forth, these kids, these families see this stuff. And you and I know that for a fact, Dusty, even before our conversation about what you've been kind of privy to about this situation. I know that for a fact personally. I've spoken to not just you know, players or athletes, I should say, just a broad sense, but also parents. There's a reason that we have, I won't say have a larger amount than most parents, athletes that follow our content and stuff like that. But there's a good portion there. Is because I feel like we've developed a culture where they know that we're not going to let the shenanigans go too far, kind of thing. There's a point where you're too sunshine pumping, and there's a point where you're being just hateful. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at there. Just remember the things that you're saying, stuff like. So I'll get off my soapbox. You got me going there on that one, but I agree with you wholeheartedly there that there are people that see this right now watching this, and that's
Yeah.
why we always need to be measured with what we're saying and
Players,
how
all kind of people, man.
exactly people that you just never, you always should. And this goes outside of sports in Auburn. You always need to act like the most important person in the world or other world. I go that way, is watching, and they're going to be making the decision about you that's going to be really important for your life. I mean, you can't say that you were proud to see them say that, do that. Why are you doing it? We're all imperfect and we're all going to make mistakes. So, all right, I'm getting on soapboxes I didn't mean to get on tonight, and that's Dusty's fault for doing that to me. So, your opinion, based off what you've become privy to, is that he feels like he was not given enough of a chance. So, what does that look like then in your mind? Just kind of feeling out like what chance other than playing time was he not given, or just help me kind of wrap my mind around that statement, because that is a common theme, and to hear apparently him echo that through whatever means this is interesting. So what do you make of all that?
I don't think that bringing in Robbie Ashford helped any. Because you brought in two, right? You brought in Calzada, which you can kind of sell as by saying, okay, we're bringing in the experienced guy. This guy started SEC games. He played us just beat up, and he
Mhm.
still got the job done. So, like, but as far as with Ashford, it's like it's the same guy basically. He hasn't proven anything. He was, I believe, he was a red shirt at Oregon. It's just kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're D, you're probably looking at that like, well, okay. And
Mhm.
then I don't want to, I don't want to be mean, but man, like there's there's just a time when if you're the guy, you're the guy. And like TJ Family opportunity with South Carolina, because he got opportunities at LSU. And there was a reason why he had to come to Auburn, because he didn't take advantage of those opportunities. And I'm pulling for TJ Finley. But if you're D, you're looking at it like, man, they just, it seems to me like, and this is just something that I'm reading into,
Mhm.
experience matters a lot to this coaching staff.
Yep.
And I get that, I really do. But how do guys how do you get experience if you're not given the opportunity?
It's funny you bring that up. That's a common thing. I'm using like other worldly things to discuss, not early worldly, but outside of our context here. You hear that a lot, like in the job market. It's like this is an entry level position that requires experience. Help me understand that. It's kind of like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't get experience for an entry level position if you won't give me the experience. So I hear you on that. That analogy does make sense. I would agree, based off what I'm able to pick up from this coaching staff, the way that they like to run things. Obviously, at the top with Coach Harsin, experience is everything, and I'm personally more aligned with that. I wouldn't say that that's the only thing that matters to me, but that does win out a lot. I mean, when I've made predictions, that you've seen the video, my early prediction video, that was my main reasoning, and still is my main reason why TJ's probably, if not in the lead, tied for the lead right now, is because of experience alone, specifically experience he has here at Auburn. But that doesn't mean that always has to win out, right? Like you said, he's had opportunities. Have they been the best opportunities? Probably not at Auburn, at least in the Auburn sense, but they've still been opportunities. And, if you're the best guy for the job, you'll take advantage of whatever opportunities that are given to you. So I hear you. I think it's very much a case of Dematrius Davis waited as long as he could. Here's one thing I'm not questioning, was his desire to be here. And I appreciate the heck out of that.
He gave it 100% every day.
I have no questions of whether he was aligned with a coach or a school. He chose a school, and that is evident now. And the dude waited as long as he could. And a lot of us saw this coming, right?
Yeah.
When he wasn't playing. Frankly, I thought a lot of people have already echoed that. I thought he'd be gone.
I thought we were going to get to A-Day. I thought that we were going to get to A-Day, and then we would see, we would kind of get more of a pecking order there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Neil's he's being very like big thinking there, but yes, that is true.
I mean, yeah, we all agree with that, but that Sunday still hurts me.
It hurts a little bit. I still have a limp in my step when I take my daily walk around the neighborhood. I'm like, people like my neighbors come out and say, "Why are you limping? Auburn lost." What does that have to do with you? You just don't know. You don't know what I've been. You don't know what I've been through, man. Not to change subjects ever, but any thoughts on basketball? This is a show where we talk about anything Auburn, but anything there other than just misery?
Man, I mean, it's not, I'm so proud of them. It was obviously such a fun year, such a great deal. I'll get back to you on this. I'm not calling anything yet, but I want to bookmark this.
Book it.
Since Brian Harsin started showing up to the basketball games, the basketball team started slipping. I paid attention to that. I'm not saying anything. We'll see. We'll, come back to that. I would prefer it if maybe he just stayed away. Don't go to any baseball games, please.
Was he there for part of the game last night? Because wow.
Oh man, I wish it was on TV. I really do.
You want to talk about stressful, trying to follow that game last night, where it's back and forth. Like Auburn looked like it was out of it, then they were in it, then they're out of it, then they're in it, with no TV, just listening to Rod, or excuse me, not Rod, rest in peace, Andy and Brad Law. That was stressful.
Yeah, normally I listen to them. My Lightning were playing a big hockey game for positioning, so I had that going on. I was trying to follow it on Twitter, and at one point we were down so big that I was like, well, that's a huge series this weekend. We need to take 2 or 3 of that one.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. I'm pretty happy so far with where we're at. We didn't lay down last night when we got down to South Alabama, who, from what I could make out, is a pretty decent ball club this year. Not saying they're great, but decent enough to almost beat you. I'm pleasantly surprised. Not that I thought we were going to be bad or anything like that, but just kind of being removed for about a season from the program like I have been, and not as into it for various reasons. I was just kind of shocked with how capable we seem to be this year. When you take one, I think people when they see you lost 2 out of 3 of the series, even to a number 1 team, people get sad. I'm like, no, you took out 1 game from this team that can score in bunches. That's really good. So
we lost that series overall 39-38.
yeah, it shows you the level of scoring that was in that game. Don't jinx the softball team. So we're
I'm
not
not.
supposed to.
I'm
So we
not
don't need to
touching
talk
any of
about it.
it. I
We don't need to
never.
talk. Go ahead.
I don't make Auburn predictions ever again. I'm sorry.
Let's see here. There was a live after Calzada and Ashford transfers that being prepared for a transfer out at quarterback was heavily discussed. Yes, we did. If you're talking about here, we did discuss that. And this was one of the ones that I thought would happen. It would be either this or TJ. So let me, I know we've kind of circled back to the original conversation, Dusty. Let's where things stand right now. And we get to the end of spring practice. There are 4 quarterbacks, very capable quarterbacks in the room, as far as we can tell. Zach Calzada, TJ Finley, Robbie Ashford, and Holden Gurner. I kind of want to still remove Holden from that discussion, but I'm willing to leave him there for now, just because of the experience that's ahead of him at the moment. But what do you think? Like, are we looking at one more transfer out, or do you think the room's going to be set at 4 moving forward?
I think we have 5 to 10 more guys transfer.
Not at quarterback, not just at quarterback is what.
Just in general, you'll definitely have a quarterback go. And because I just feel like it's going to be either TJ or Calzada, and
Mhm.
probably Ashford will stay around just because he's new and he'll probably can convince himself, okay, well, if I give it a year,
Yeah.
Something like that. So, but yeah, they'll definitely be more quarterback go.
That's what I feel like too. I feel like, you traditionally you only have about like 3 logical conclusions at quarterback with some backup to backups type of situation in the event that you actually need them. 3 is usually the magic number in that situation. So I think it's highly unlikely we get out of the summer without someone transferring. Who that will be up in
Maybe
the air.
Lindsey, is Trey Lindsey on scholarship? Because if you look at it, I guess you would say that Finley's 1, Calzada 2, and then the kid from Oregon, Ashford 3, and then you just redshirt Griner. So I guess you could get away with that, right? I mean, that's not too
I
bad.
guess. Yeah, I don't know. It could go any number of ways. It wouldn't make sense for Calzada or Robbie to leave. So really, that kind of leaves TJ. So here's one thing I do know. TJ knows, I think, that he's playing for his job. And so he
Yeah.
is going to be
Oh,
given
yeah.
so if nothing else, we talked about this last year with bringing in TJ for Bo. Nothing else, the dude feels the heat, I'm sure. And that is going to do nothing but help Auburn. Competition wins out, and competition makes everybody better. It should, because even if you don't get better, it pushes you out of the situation,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
As a longtime Bucks fan that has had to deal with like 2-14 seasons, if next season goes as bad as I think it's going to go, at some point I believe in turning it over to Ashford or Griner anyway and seeing what you got.
yeah, you might. We thought that we get that with Dematrius just to bring it back, but here we are.
Yeah, for sure.
But hey, Dusty, thanks for calling in and telling us what you've been privy to tonight. I think it's given us a lot of information to think about. And, obviously, I loved everything you said there.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Hey, man, look out for messages. I got some stuff I'm going to shoot to you.
Absolutely. Always looking for it. Thanks, Dusty.
All
War
right,
Eagle.
brother. Where we go.
All right. That was Mr. Dusty, one of our regulars. Good to hear from him. And he had some takes about Dematrius Davis. Obviously, a very convoluted situation. I hate to see anybody go. I know we've talked about that a lot tonight, and that's probably kind of waning thin a little bit. We can obviously bounce back and forth to that if you'd like. But what else is on you guys' mind in terms of Auburn stuff? We've kind of skirted around the whole basketball thing. One of the things that is very on everybody's mind right now is what's going to happen with Jabari Walker Kessler, and will some transfers be coming in? There's some big ones over at LSU that have, since the Will Wade firing, have decided to open up their commitment status, and those might be options for Auburn, which is a very exciting thing. I was surprised this week how much I heard the prospect of Jabari Smith staying. I wouldn't get your hopes up, folks. I don't think anybody is truly taking that serious. It may be kind of one of those wishful thinkings. Maybe I can speak it into existent thing, but unless the kid is just given an incredible NIL deal and he's like, you know what, I just love it here too much. I don't see it happening. I could be wrong. Jabari, if you see this somehow, stay, man. Please. It does nothing but help us. But I wonder if that's what's best for him. So that's one of the things that's kind of pertinent right now. Most people don't realize how hard it is to be number one at their position. Well, most of us have never been in that position. I was number one in my kicking position, but I did have a little competition for that in high school. So I understand it a little bit. Yes, when you're fighting for your job, it'll bring out the best in you or the worst in you. Either way, it fixes the situation the team might be in with you. I don't see Holden going anywhere. Harsin recruited, and that's kind of what I was getting at. It looks like this is TJ's chance. Ride or die. You got to make it happen. Rise to the occasion, or this is it for you, at least at Auburn. And my personal hope is it happens, because if he wins, it's the same thing I said with anybody. He wins, Auburn wins. That's kind of where I stand on it. Before it's over, Holden could be a strong number 2. I would agree, potentially, especially with Dematrius now gone. I would like to get him a little bit of time. I'd like to see Holden. I'd like to really start considering and talking about Holden this time next year and seeing what we're dealing with. A little bit off topic. Can we all agree that Auburn has a fantastic logo and that no other team has a logo that looks like Auburn? Where is Clint Richardson when we need him? I'm looking over there like he's going to appear. Yes. It is an amazing logo that was people tried to change a couple of years ago, which looked hideous in my opinion. It goes beyond that. The color scheme we have is just gorgeous. This is not the Auburn Uniform Database show, but I would agree, and Clint would probably agree as well. Corey, I would like your opinion, Kyle. What's best fit for quarterback at Auburn, pro style spread or dual threat? Well, it depends on what the team's set up for. So let's break that down. So the team used to be set up for a spread offense. So I would say a spread quarterback or a mobile quarterback. We have begun to shift to a more pro style. So you would want a quarterback that has some established pocket presence. Doesn't mean they can't be mobile. Doesn't mean they can't have the ability to be a more dynamic quarterback. But I would say right now, the most logical thing is for Auburn to have a more pro style quarterback. It's not my preference. I would prefer a mobile quarterback. It's what I do in video games. It's what I would do if I was a good enough quarterback. I love the dynamic ability to be able to create plays with, which is why I was a big fan of Bo. His ability to make plays when given time was uncanny at times. And same with Cam Newton, same with Nick Marshall. So I think that's what I prefer. But right now, I would say we are best suited for a pro style. You would think with as bad as the offensive line has played at times, we would be better suited for a more mobile quarterback. It seems like the easy answer. I'm not so sure, though. It's a good question, though. Devin says Jabari has said he doesn't know yet. And by the way, if anybody would like to call in, the phone lines are still open, so please do take advantage of that. Don't be shy. Don't bark or bite too hard, as I've said already. Bad joke, I know, but I'll put it in the chat one more time. Just hit the link. You don't have to be live on the screen in terms of face. It can just be audio only if you just like to call in. Jabari said he doesn't know yet, and that might be why people are talking, but I'm sure he has decided and just didn't want to say it in the press conference. That's what I lean as well. I'm encouraged that maybe it would even be a thought in his head. And I think that goes to show you how much he's enjoyed his time here. So it speaks a lot about Auburn. I do know this. Apparently he was at a softball game the night after his loss, at Auburn. And you don't just do that if you don't love being a place. They got bigger and better things to do. Not better, I shouldn't say that. Bigger thing. He has his particular situation. He has bigger things to be worrying about right now. So, though he was due a little bit of time off. So, we'll see, but don't get your hopes up. What's the chance of 5-star center Johan Traore? Well, the interesting thing is that Bruce Pearl retweeted his post of opening up his commitment. If that ain't a sign, I don't know what is. You don't see that often, but I just can't take anything for granted. But I say trust the coaches a lot. And if a coach is doing that, whether it was a mistake or not, that tells you something, doesn't it? God loves Auburn. He made the sun orange and the sky blue. Can we just talk about that for half a second here? Honestly, have y'all stopped to look at the sunsets in Auburn? It's incredible. Obviously, over the silhouette of a Sanford hog, nothing with a Tumor's lemonade in your hand, nothing's better. But I'll give you a spot to go now. If you at least walk up to the new parking garage that's directly across from Mellow Mushroom in downtown Auburn, where the BCM used to be, go to the top there. You'll get some incredible views of Auburn and sunset. Quentin, do you know who's coming back for basketball? As of this moment, everybody should be coming back outside of Preston Cook. I feel like there's one other walk-on situation there as well. Jabari is the likelihood, and Walker Kessler looks likely not to come back. So at least 2 open scholarship spots. There's 2 guys out there that are pretty interesting to watch. So that would make the most sense. You've got Trey Donaldson coming in. You've got Chance Westry, a bigger guard coming in, but 2 guards, a point guard, and we'll call him a swing man or a 3 guard maybe. People probably consider him a 2 guard. Either way, he's a bigger guard. And so that's who you have coming in as well. So I don't know how much room there is, but Zep Jasper's coming back for an extra year. So a lot of people. Can you explain what each of those offenses is on football we were talking about? Okay, so there are going to be people that scream at me because they're like, "You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up." By the way, I didn't realize what time it is. We'll go a little extra long tonight. Pro style offense is more a quarterback stands in the pocket and goes through what are called progressions, meaning check the one receiver, check the second, 3, 4. It's usually a lot of the quarterback stays in the pocket type of stuff. It's not that simple, but I'm just trying to keep it in layman's terms. Spread wide receiver is denoted by the wide receivers being spread really far out, and usually it's set up to create more space for everybody, including the quarterback, to run. You got other ones behind that, but there's the spread, there's the pro. That's the ones that you hear a lot right now. Let's see here. Sunsets over the plains are amazing. I would agree. One of these days I'll make it to Auburn for a sunset. Hopefully this fall for a football game. Oh, Devin, fall sunsets with a cool breeze blowing across Sanford lawn. Oh, stop it. That's so good. Oh, I want to go back now. I'm going to get my car right now and just drive to Auburn, even though the sun's already set. We've got a discussion about guns going on in the comments, so I guess I'll let that go right there. But we got another caller in, someone we've talked to before, Mr. Roderick. How are you doing, sir? How you say that one more time? I couldn't hear you.
I said I'm doing good.
Hey, there you are. I heard you now. Good to hear. What's on your mind tonight?
Dematrius Davis.
Yeah.
I think it's not surprising, but it's surprising. I was hoping that he would. I was hoping that he would win the job, but I think it's more of us leaving the spread offense and us really going back to a pro style offense.
Yep.
Everything that Coach Harsin has talked about has been geared toward preparing these guys to go pro. Really.
Yep. So, and if you looked at like how the recruiting signing day was set up too, it was very NFL draft like. So you're 100% correct.
Absolutely. It's all got to do. You have to go about your business in this pro style offense because you're trying to you're preparing yourself for the next level.
Right.
It's not high school offenses anymore.
Right.
We're running. It's attention to detail. Very. You can't miss throws. You got to hit guys in stride. It's a cerebral game, I guess. What I'm trying to say, it's more of a game up here now.
Yeah.
Our defensive have figured out how to deal with athletic quarterback, you know, and now this thing has come full circle, and we got to get back to what we used to do, which was just be a smarter football team and just more physical.
So. I'm going to ask your opinion on something real quick. It's more high level, not even necessarily Auburn related, but just interesting. You brought this point up. You talked about defenses adjusting, and I would agree that they have adjusted to the mobile, more spread type of offenses, no huddle type of situations.
Right.
This happens a lot in football where defenses, schemes catch up and something's not as successful. How long do you think till we see, maybe not even back to a spread, but how long before you think we see another big adjustment happen in football, whether it be college or
pro? Normally takes about, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 years before there's a big leap in offensive innovation. Maybe 4 or 5 years. I always say you got that window where your offense is unstoppable at one point. You can't miss, and we had that with Malzahn. It was unstoppable for a minute, but then they caught on to it, and then we couldn't. We started getting out coached and out schemed and everything else. So
you think back to that.
You got 5 years. You got 5 years with this, I think. Before we have to make some major changes on offense.
You remember back to that 2013 year, and I'll never forget, I think it was Gary Pinkel was the head coach in Missouri, and press conference asked, because that's how much of a steamroll that offense was in that first year with Malzahn. They asked him, he said, how do you stop that offense? And he said, dude, if I could tell you, I would have done it in this game. You can't. And it's funny you say that. You always have that where things switch over, and there's that 1-2 year period where there's not enough time to start catching on, and it's just you annihilate people, whether it's Auburn or somebody else. So I'm thankful we got to be on the giving end of that switch around, as opposed to that was really fun to watch. And I still to this day believe that Nick Marshall is the most underrated quarterback in Auburn history.
Hey,
it was
outstanding
just in the way, like, he maybe doesn't work in anybody else's system, but he was tailor-made for Coach Malzahn.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a mixture between what we've seen in the past with the read option and the quarterback runs, but also a lot of spread, a lot of pro concepts also, like how the NFL is right now. If we can get ahead of that, we'll have an opportunity to, I don't want to say this too loud, to maybe win a couple of national championships before they actually catch on to what we're doing.
Said it. he said the silent part. He wasn't supposed to say that.
I wasn't supposed to say that, but I think that Coach Austin is on to something. He knows that we have to get back to doing things fundamentally sound in order to get to that level. And things happen in level. You have to take one step at a time. And I'm just glad he survived the whole thing early on. But I think we're on the right track. Even with Dematrius, I wish the kid, all the luck in the world, man. I want the kid to do well, and I hope he finds him a home, a place that can get him where he needs to be in his life. So.
And that's usually how I feel about guys that leave Auburn. I'm their biggest fan until they play Auburn, but at that, when I see Malik Willis, doing the things he did at Liberty, I'm like, gosh, man, that makes me proud. Makes me know that we had a guy of that caliber on the field. It brings up the question, why didn't it work out here? But even, I think that's the thing that's missed a lot in the Malik Willis scenario. Even he has gone on the record, even recently, asking about why it didn't work out at Auburn. And he put it on himself. If I remember correctly, he said, I just wasn't mature enough at that time. And to me, that makes me kind of wish he had been here more. That's what you want, is a guy that recognizes, hey, whether or not I was given the opportunities, it may be me that didn't take advantage of even the small amount of opportunities that I was getting. And that's not a direction at Dematrius in any way. But it just makes you, that's kind of one of those things that's kind of coming in with this story. And it makes you like, God, I wish it had worked out with Malik Willis. And hopefully we're saying the same thing in a positive way about Dematrius Davis when everything's said and done. That, you know, wish it had worked out, but happy for his success, as long as it's not at the expense of Auburn.
Right. TJ Finley kind of reminded me of Jason Campbell. You remember before, I don't know if you can remember this far back, but Jason Campbell wasn't like the favorite quarterback. Everybody was like, oh, we need to get rid of this guy. But then all of a sudden, he got it together like the last year. It finally clicked. He got it together. You know what I mean? And we went undefeated, you know, and probably should have won. I'll say we're the national champions, because that year, nobody claims that. In the books, it's not claimed. So we might as well say we're the national champions.
Look, USC knows it. Oklahoma knew it. Everybody knew that Auburn was the best team.
USC did not want to see us again.
No.
We gave them problems at USC. They came here and they beat us pretty good. But we were a young team at that time, you know. But they did not want to see us the third time. We were one of the few teams in the country that can match the physicality and had back that were just as good, if not better. I'm just going to say we were better. But I think a lot of people was cheated out of possibly one of the best national championship games, you know, in college football. But I felt like, you know, my Tigers would have pulled it out. We would probably end up winning. So.
It definitely would have been a good game, and I feel like we would have won as well with that offense, the way it was rolling combined with that defense.
But our defense was nasty. Oh my God. Defense was just, you were not scoring on these guys. You were not scoring on 14 over on the corner. You couldn't deal with the defense, the linebackers. It was, we were the team.
It's the thing is, like, even if you got past the front seven, you get intercepted by Carlos Rogers, or you get your block knocked off by Junior Rosegreen.
Right.
So, or
Rosegreen.
Will Herring, you know, too. Will Herring to knock your block off too.
This guy right here, Herring was just, he was that guy, man, that you would forget about until he lit you up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and then we had a shutdown corner. Oh my God. You know, I like to go back and look at that thing. During that time, I was in the military, though, so I didn't get a chance. My brother always tells me, "Man, you missed one of the best Auburn teams of all time." I was in Iraq at the time, but I would call home and he would be like, "Yeah, they won again, man. Man, we might really do something." And then the last one that I saw was Virginia Tech, and I was so proud of my Tigers, man. I was just like, it felt like a national championship. You know, it really did. It didn't feel like a bowl game. It felt like we deserved to be there. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Because, well, in some ways, you don't want to call it a moral victory or a moral game, because but it was a certain type of, we're going to prove ourselves here that you guys were wrong for not putting us in there. And you know, Virginia Tech, you look at the score, kind of came back somewhat towards the end there, but it was never really as close as the score indicated.
I never felt like they were going to win.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a good team, man. I love reminiscing about those things, because that's, I may look somewhat young, but if you look at my hairline, you can tell that's not true. But that was, you know, I was in adolescence about the, you know, early or the not the mid 2000s, right when the year 2000 turned around. And so that was kind of the year where I was always an Auburn fan, but I started focusing on it more and being more aware of everything, to start telling you who actually everybody is.
Right.
And so I watched that team, that, you know, program progress from that to that. And I was like, does it get any better than this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Little did I know, you know, 6 years later, I'd be on campus in my senior year in college, watching us hoist up a crystal ball. So it apparently gets better.
Yeah, it gets better.
Yes,
I agree. Do that again.
I want to echo what Rob says here. I know you probably get this a lot, but I do want to express my thank yous. Thank you for your service, sir, for serving over there.
Yeah, I didn't say that just for
we know
that.
That doesn't change how we feel about it, though. So we just want to say thank you.
I just want to and the guys that are serving now, my son, I just want to thank him for his service also.
Of course.
And he's going through a tough time right now with some things that he had a job, he got fired, and he's trying to find his way. He's a young man trying to find his way, and I love him and I want him to do well. And not only my kid, but all the kids that are serving in the military. I ask God's protection for them, and just keep them in your prayers.
Absolutely. Done. Absolutely. I we all would like to think that we could do what you and so many others have done, is answer that call. But I can imagine it's a much different thing when that call actually comes. And some things
get
real. Gets real quick.
Real quick.
Roderick, I echo what everybody else said here. We want you to call in as much as you can. So please do, whenever you have some time, call in again.
No problem, man.
All right, Roger. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You as well. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right. Great to hear from Roderick and Dusty tonight. And as always, you all are more than welcome to call in whenever you want. We are closing down the line right now as we kind of wrap up our time tonight. Thank you guys for watching tonight. I know you have a lot of options out there for your time in general, but in the Auburn space. And I thank you guys for spending that with us tonight. One thing I forgot to mention is what our show is brought to you by tonight, but I'll do that right now. But get your last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals in the comments section right now. Let me just remind you of a few things. As always, check out the links for the description. One of the things that you'll check out there, the Booster Club, where you can get access to exclusive content that nobody else gets anywhere else. Little tidbits of information, blooper reels, just things that I want to share, or any of the other content creators that work with us share. That's over at the Booster Club. $1 a month gets you access to all that basic stuff, but then there's tiers where you get some extra little things on top of that. Go check that out if you haven't. We are mainly listener supported, and that is one of the ways that you can do it, but there are several other ways in the description that you can do, take advantage of. Easiest thing that you can do is just to be here, as we just addressed, like so many of you have done, either on the live streams or on the videos. Leave a comment, but most importantly, smash that like button and invite a friend to be a part of our little family within the Auburn family. So that is one to bring your attention to. I agree, Devin. E2C for life. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate y'all so much. But yes, any other final comments and questions? Just kind of rounding out our discussion point tonight. Obviously spent a lot of time on Dematrius Davis. When I made the stream earlier this week, I kind of was wondering where we would kind of bounce to in the spring practice discussion, and lo and behold, it presents itself. So obviously it was probably a good thing for us not to focus so much on the basketball side of things, but there's a lot still going on in the Auburn realm that to be excited about, and to, have your focus on the rest of the way. We did get one more caller to sneak in real quick, so I am going to let him on real quick before we head out of here. Let's let Kevin say hello to everybody. Kevin, how are you?
War Eagle, Cal.
War Eagle, Kevin. Thanks for stopping in just before we got out of here. You made it in.
Yeah, I think we will have good football season this time.
I hope so, sir. I really do, because there's a lot of questions out there, but any football is better than no football. So even if it's a little bit less than ideal this year, I'm glad that you're being optimistic, though, and I'm going to catch some of your optimism and insert it into me. So what else? You got anything else on your mind tonight, Auburn wise?
We still have a good basketball season.
It was an excellent season. No disappointment at the end of the year. Doesn't change how much we accomplished. All the great things that we had happen this year, awards, events, people camping out. Yeah. I had a heck of a time this year during basketball season. It was a lot of fun.
We got 3 or 4 quarterback battles for the spring training.
We do. narrowed a little bit for us now. It's narrowed just a little bit with Dematrius being gone, but there's still quite a battle going on there, and it'll be interesting to watch that continue on through the spring, into summer, and then hopefully maybe mid fall practice we can get some answers, right? I'd like some answers.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, we're going to head out, but thank you so much for catching us before we got out of here, buddy.
Okay, War Eagle.
War Eagle, Kevin. All right, guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me tonight. Glad to hear from Kevin before we got out of here. As always, thank you so much for being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Share it out with a friend, invite them in, help us grow this little family together. With that being said, until I see you guys later on the channel, and of course, next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time live. Till then.